credit card waiting to be paid for by the next generation. That's why HCON resolution is so important, because 107 will make Congress debate its role. We have forgotten our role when it comes to war, and that's what this is all about. And you feel strong about it, I feel strong about it.
Well, again, think of how immoral it is to make troops serve more than one tour, some are in their 6th, 7th, or 8th, suicides at all-time records, outpacing even deaths from the conflict, and we're there 11 years. All of this is going on, and it's all about the contractors and these interests making money. They just want it to go forever. This is a completely sick joke, and it was never even declared, and we can't ever seem to get out of it. And then meanwhile, Obama wants to start all of these new wars. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's HCR 107, concurrent resolution. Get behind it. Call Congress, 202-224-3121. What do we need to do to get this out of committee, Congressman?
Well, we're getting a lot of, the more members we can get on the bill. I have spoken and written to the chairman, Lamar Smith from Texas, who I think is friendly to the issue, but I want him to feel the pressure of the people, forget me, feel the pressure of the people from around this country that want the Constitution protected and want the Constitution to be used if ever we're going to commit our young men and women to die.
Well, sure. I mean, I notice a lot of these mainline Republican radio shows, they just think it's patriotic to be behind wars, so they're actually supporting Obama in all these wars. You would think that they would want to cover a move to impeach Obama for saying the UN gives the president orders. I mean, he's on record. I mean, I say start impeachment right now. Why not just go right into impeachment proceedings and see if the media tries to ignore that?
Well, Alex, along the lines of what you're saying, Secretary of Defense Panetta spoke before the Armed Services Committee about 3 weeks ago, and Randy Forbes from Virginia and I was in line before Randy to ask the question. And I piggybacked on this HCON 107, and then Randy had a very fine question for Mr. Panetta, and you're right. Basically, what he says, well, we have to talk with our friends from coalition friends before we come to Congress. I mean, for God's sakes. I mean, how sad and how tragic is that thought process?
Sir, the media didn't cover it. A few months ago, when he did it in the Senate, it got attention. You're saying he repeated what he said 2 months ago?
Yeah, he did about 3 weeks ago in the Armed Services Committee. Absolutely.
Wow. So we can just look that up on C-SPAN. That's going to be important news. That shows the incredible news blackout. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're right. And that's why thank you and everyone else has taken an interest in HCR 107, because I want the American people to understand they can control Congress by saying, Congress, live by the Constitution, what Ron Paul's been preaching for years, what you've been preaching for years. And this is just a small step in protecting the Constitution. That's all this is about. You
were bringing that up to me during the break. You talked about it some on air, Congressman. But, I mean, again, you guys have gone to the courts, and they say, look, you've got the authority. Stop asking us.
Yeah, you're right. That's where the fallacy comes in, and the federal courts believe that Congress has the authority to stop a war by cutting the budget. And in fairness to members of Congress, and I was this way at one time myself, you don't want to cut the budget because you know those troops over in a foreign country need ammunition to fight. And if you got them over there, unless you're going to bring them home, you got to give them the ammunition. And that's why, again, I greatly appreciate this. I'm just sick and tired of being in a Congress that advocates its responsibility to the executive branch, especially when it comes to war.
Well, it's illegal, sir. As you know, it's unconstitutional.
It is illegal, you're right. But we're partially to blame. That's the reason I put this in there. I want Congress to say, by God, we are given this responsibility by the Constitution, and we're going to meet our constitutional responsibility. We haven't done that since World War II.
And it's getting worse.
Absolutely.
To where now the president doesn't even get any type of resolution, not as a declaration, and now he says the UN's the boss. We should make this the big issue, bipartisan. Every congressman or woman, when they go out to give speeches in their district, folks, go out and confront them and say, when are you going to do your job? That is what's important. We've got to get behind Representative, Member of Congress, Mr. Jones, right now. We've got to get behind this legislation. HCR 107, 202-224-3121. You call your member of Congress right now and you tell them you get behind the Constitution. We'll be right back in a final segment with our guests. Stay with us. We'll cover some other key areas of what's happening. Congressman Jones has notified us that 3 weeks ago, we're going to get the video, maybe even on the nightly news tonight, or on the radio tomorrow, we'll have it here for you, asked the same questions of the Secretary of Defense, and he said the same thing. Yeah, no, we got to check with allies, we got to get the authority from the UN. I don't know if we'll ever come to you to see what you think. They're like, so you're saying you don't get that authority from us? No, we don't. And Obama has put out a letter saying, oh yeah, Congress isn't involved in wars. That is, of course, completely upside down. So here's a quick clip of that. We're going back to Congressman Jones, who is moving forward with legislation that can begin the impeachment of Obama if he tries this again. Here's a clip from a few months ago where Panetta told the Senate that. I can't play the whole thing. He says it over and over again, but here's a quick snippet.
I think that you can act without Congress and initiate a no-fly zone in Syria without congressional approval.
You know, again, our goal would be to seek international permission, and we would come to the Congress and inform you and determine how best to approach this, whether or not we would want to get permission from the Congress. I think those are issues we would have to discuss as we decide what to do here.
Well, I'm almost breathless about that, because what I heard you say is we're going to seek international approval, and they will come and tell the Congress what we might do, and we might seek congressional approval.
No, well,
I want to just say to you, that's a big dish. Wouldn't you agree? You've served in the Congress.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree that that's would be pretty breathtaking to the average American? So would you like to clarify that?
But I've also served with Republican presidents and Democratic presidents who has always reserved the right to defend this country if necessary.
Okay, there you go. Spins it that the UN ordering the president around is patriotic and the Congress isn't. That was an amazing little response, and Panetta smiles. He knows full well that's illegal, Congressman Jones.
You're right, and I tell you, Alex, it was we were in the process of drafting this. Again, Bruce Fine helped me with this, which you've already acknowledged. But when I heard that exchange with Senator Sessions from Alabama and Defense Secretary Panetta, I said, we're going to drop that bill next week, and we did. It's just absolutely the arrogance of any administration, and I mean Republican or Democrat, any administration, to think that they have the authority based on international law and understanding instead of the Constitution. That is just not acceptable in America. That's what. Well,
that's right. Bush, for the ill-fated Iraq situation, I'm not defending him, but he went and at least got a resolution, and Congress then got the funding. This is just a slap in the face. Hey, you're not even in the equation anymore. Shut up. And
Alex, there's a concern up here by Ron Paul and others, and myself included, that this president could be encouraged to go into Iran or be supportive of an invasion of Iran. And I've always said, listen, I got great respect for Israel. If Israel feels like they must protect themselves, then fine. But I cannot see this country that's financially broke, known as the United States of America, getting involved in these kind of situations, and especially if they bypass the Constitution.
And you've got news for us, Ron Paul, and you're going to support it. He's got a resolution tomorrow. Tell us about that. Yeah, he's going to have an amendment. We're debating the Armed Services Bill called the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. And Ron Paul's going to have an amendment today or tomorrow that will basically say nothing in this NDAA bill gives any authority to attack Iran. And it's that simple. Nothing in this bill that we're going to pass gives any authority to attack Iran. It's a multi-page bill. That's the reason he's doing it. It's like 300 pages. And it's just a protection amendment. It's what he's doing, and God bless my friend Ron Paul. Sure, because it's got some of that sanction stuff in there last time I checked, and they can probably use that to then claim that force is involved to enforce them. I mean, they call dropping bombs on Libya and helping al-Qaeda humanitarian aid. There's no telling what they'll do. And Alex, you and your listeners know what we have done in these foreign countries. We are creating a worse situation. I'm not for dictators. I'm not for despots. But for God's sakes, if you're going into an area and you're going to make things worse, then you need to think about your policy before you do it. Amazing. Congressman Jones has introduced legislation. He needs your help to get it rammed through and out onto the floor. HCR 107-202-224-3121. Everybody call right now. Sir, we got about 30 seconds. Final comment.
Well, I always appreciate what you do to educate the American people. I appreciate our men and women in uniform, and I will close by asking God to please bless our men and women in uniform. Let's bring them home, God. Help bring them home, and let's rebuild America, and God bless America.
A republic, not an empire. Congressman Walter B. Jones, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. A real gentleman, a real patriot. We had a Congress full of guys like that, we'd have our country back. Stay with us. More straight ahead, your phone calls, and a ton of news.